Leo, welcome to the show. Welcome to the Geek House with RevOps at AVM.
Thanks, Romeo. Thanks for having me here this evening.
So, Leo, we will go dive deep into it. Usually, how I do it is that I let you tell your story a bit with your experience. Obviously, I will interrupt you on the way to find a little bit more information. But for the folks out there, Leo or Leopold is a client of ours, and really we worked really cool together. I think 1 year ago we were talking about all this content and all the. I had a workshop at Amsterdam Standard, but he will tell you a bit more about the company, about what's what's his aim in this world, right, Leo? And then later on we can just learn a bit more. What's the perspective of a CEO and of a tech founder on this whole RevOps and ABM? So, Leo, before we get started, I saw you love rafting. You have two sons, and you made this analogy of rafting and the business. So, what business are you in, and how did this whole business evolve around you?
Okay, sure. Thanks. Yeah, so my name is Leopold, full name. I'm based here in the Netherlands. I built my office in Amsterdam. I'm 43. I started 22 or 21 years ago as a student. Actually, I was in my last year when I just started a small agency, and I was, let's say, a very average with very poor quality internet agency trying to serve everyone here. And it was quite successful. So within a couple of years, we had around like 20 guys in our agency, and I
Oh wow!
started to run into capacity problems for the first time.
So what
Because
was the agency doing actually?
well, we were making very poor websites for everyone who had a little bit of money, but we also tried to target corporates. So
Mm-hmm.
we were really making websites and apps for everyone. No specialization, just a few young guys in their 20s, trying to earn some money. And that's basically how we build our
Mm-hmm.
experience. Yeah, and then after like a couple of years, 7, 8 years. Um, our projects became bigger, also longer. Therefore, it's really hard to run a project agency because, an agency is used to start stopping projects. But when, software gets bigger, you need a bigger team to actually work on software for longer. So, the capacity problems in Amsterdam became worse and worse, actually. So I started outsourcing my work to actually many locations in the world. 7, 8 countries tried that.
Oh wow!
Learned a lot, failed every time. So there was no success. Not
Where
because
did you outsource, or how did you
sorry.
come up? Where did you outsource yourself? Like
No, I didn't outsource myself. I outsourced the work to
yeah,
others
yeah, the work,
everywhere,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
and it always failed. So first I thought, these guys are crazy and stupid. But if you failed like so many times, you have to think harder, and then you have to find the error in yourself. So it actually turned out that we sucked a lot at doing project management. It was even hard to manage the projects locally. So then it's impossible to outsource a project and expect a good quality when you do it somewhere else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
So so at some point I met my co-founder Thomas in
Mm-hmm.
Poland, and together with Tom, actually for the first time I did manage to build like a proper project, a legal tech platform back then. So Tom first started working for me as a freelancer, but in no time he actually, showed me that he had much more skills than just being a developer there. He also brought in his former colleagues, and it was just a success. So what we started doing was just building software development teams for clients in the Netherlands.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we have been doing now since 2012. Yeah, so there in the Netherlands, there's a huge shortage of skilled developers. I'm here, I can find those clients. I know what's lacking there. I can explain them
Mm-hmm.
that a part of their team should be somewhere else. That's strategically the best decision. So have your core team here locally in the Netherlands. But once your core is settled, you can just expand your team everywhere. And that is what I'm trying to explain them. That's what we've been doing for many years quite successfully. And yeah, so we built a company of around, well, now we're a little bit smaller than the beginning of the year, but we are with around 135 people in 4 offices in Poland and 1 office in the Netherlands. 95% of our clients are Dutch. Yeah,
I
that's
was always wondering, Leo, like you guys in Netherlands are super entrepreneurial, and like there are a lot of companies from the Netherlands, such as small territory, and still a lot of entrepreneurs. How come? Like how come the country has so many successful businesses? What's the success
well, I don't know.
ingredient?
I don't know exactly, but there's one story that is, the Dutch people founded the first real company in the world, which was the VOC, which traded, with Eastern Asia in
Mm-hmm.
1500, 1600. Basically, also a lot of bad stuff happened there, like trading slaves. But they were the first one to build ships. Go out there to get the spices here, get expensive stuff that we didn't know here. So yeah, this is, let's say, how Amsterdam was built and how Amsterdam got rich. They were
Mm-hmm.
traders, and it's also because, of course, the Netherlands doesn't have a lot of resources themselves. We are a pretty flat country. We have a lot of cows and pigs, and that's basically it. There's nothing in the ground here. There's no oil. There's not much. So you need to import and export a lot to
Mm-hmm.
so I think because of that and because of how small this country actually is, without too much resources, we became this a country that is very much focused on building businesses. A lot of services here, and that's basically what I can say about that.
Yeah, I think this mentality of discovering new things, right? Like it's nowadays I think similar with Estonia what they do, right? Like the
Yeah,
country is extremely small,
yeah,
so the only way to you know expand is to think globally. So every single startup out there needs to think globally.
yeah, exactly. Yeah,
So that's great story. So basically, you were trying to outsource, and you found this co-founder Tomasz on some freelancing platforms, I suppose,
yeah,
and then you started Amsterdam Standard. So what were those learnings? Because you were saying that you learned a lot in this outsourcing, I suppose, a lot of culture differences also when it comes to how you guys with this exploring mindset and entrepreneurial mindset look at things versus how is in other countries. I'm just trying to understand the learnings and give to our audience some kind of takeaways from these experiences.
yeah, sure. Well, it's not only about cultural differences. Of course, you can talk for like few hours about how important it is that there's like a cultural match. But I guess I won't be telling anything new then.
Mm-hmm.
Back then, it was also just, not even if you are not able to manage a project locally successfully, and maybe it
Mm-hmm.
sounds weird, but I still encounter like so many companies who have a hard time, to produce proper software, even with the local team. This is just hard, right? This is
Mm-hmm.
still
Mm-hmm.
very hard, even though there's like tons of books written about it. There's like so many proven methods and processes to do this. It is hard. It will always be hard. You can always learn. You will always fail. But if you don't know how to do that, then it's like extremely hard to do that remote. So that's basically it. You need to acknowledge that project management is like extremely important.
Mm-hmm.
And back then we just didn't have that. So at some point, you just need to professionalize all your processes. And yeah, that's also still what we are trying to explain to new clients. So of course, We need to understand the company's business. We need to have like cultural fit. Everything should be there, but you need to, come up with the best possible processes, be very strict on that. And, if everything is in place, then the most important thing is that you need to work on the relation. So we still, after all those years, working between like more than 100 clients in the Netherlands and teams in Poland, we don't believe that you can build software when you're fully remote. So we still, invest that people come to our offices, and we still invite
Mm-hmm.
our clients to visit us in our offices in Poland. And
Mm-hmm.
we push our people to come over to the Netherlands to visit their clients, because to build this relationship, that's actually what makes the difference. If you are in a project together for a long time, if you don't know truly what this company is doing, if you don't have the full context, if you don't know what tension is going on there, what their real goals are, how the atmosphere is in that company, then it's like super hard to actually make like good micro decisions that you have to do, let's say, pretty much every hour when you're writing software. So
Mm-hmm.
this is what we just know, and this is what we as a company are pushing on, to build that relation, see each other. Then if you have a good relation, if you had a beer together, if you had a dinner, if you got drunk together, there's always there's much more
Yeah.
tolerance when things get when it gets like
Yeah. When things fuck
when
up.
there's when
Yeah,
things fuck
exactly.
up, when there's a deadline, or when you need to do over hours, then at least who you work for. That guy is actually a person who probably also has his reasons, to act and behave like that, and that is so crucial. So without that bonding, there is no chance that it will ever be a long-lasting, good, and sustainable relationship. So yeah, that's what we learned already back then, and since then, we've only tried to improve our processes and way of working to actually get that done, which was, I would say, very successful and easy to achieve right before COVID. Of course,
Mm-hmm.
then we were like confronted with 2 years of being fully remote. There was, I still remember the times that I had to sneak into Poland because, the border was actually closed. Uh,
Sneaky.
yeah, there were no flights for like months, everything. So it got a little bit harder back then. And since then, of course, a big part of the company is working remotely, which is fine because it's like it is effective. There's nothing on a short term that is wrong with that, because the output is there, people are happy, clients are not complaining. It's fine. But for the long term, I do feel that people have to come together. Otherwise, you will actually lose that cohesion between
Mm-hmm.
uh, you know, and also, how will you ever onboard new people in a company where there is actually no one coming to the office? So we actually started those conversations again, that we would like to have our people coming back now and then, so that at least at some days you can expect a crowd, that you can just enjoy the things that made office life so nice, so that you can just go there. You can complain about your life, you can just get inspired by people, you can see new people. That's so super important. And yeah, so that's
Yeah, and I think that what you say about how you work with clients, this human touch, right? Like you just said, like getting drunk together, and I think not that we are promoting any kind of abuse of alcohol consumption,
that's
but I'm I'm thinking of ABM, and I cannot
yeah.
not make this analogy, right? Um, like you have two type of marketing, the same way you have two types of businesses in your space, right? Like we
Yeah.
work a lot with software consulting companies, and we see that there are one culture which you just described, and the other one which, let's say, comes and also brings the heart, and not only the brain, and not only the hands that code, right? And gets involved in the building those products,
Mhm.
and gets involved in understanding the customer much more, and then have that human touch with them, because by having that you can be more relevant, right? Like by
Exactly.
having that, because you understand them, you have these human connections,
Yeah.
right? And the same way with marketing, right? Like you have one type of marketing in which you dive deep, you peel the onion, you
Yeah.
really want to understand,
Yeah.
or you have just some programmers that you outsource them somewhere where you have no idea where this city is, and they just bring you back the code, right? Or they just bring you back the
Exactly.
um, whatever task you gave them. So it's a very task driven type of outsourcing, right? Which is
Yeah.
okay. Both of them are in a way software outsourcing, software development companies, but with totally different approaches. And the same with marketing. ABM or the typical marketing can be the same. It's like
Yeah.
really like you say what you do marketing, and you have this bad connotation when you hear marketing. But it because why? Because people fucked up this whole industry. The same with programmers or outsourcing. You know, when you say IT outsourcing, it's like a I don't know. You think of someone with whom you cannot freaking understand each other, right? At least that's our connotation with it. I don't know what's your connotation being in this business, but I know it from corpo, right? Like when I worked for different corporation, when somebody told me IT outsourcing, I was like, okay, fucks. Now I will spend again a lot of time describing what I want.
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, but going a little bit to what's happening these days. So you build this company, and you are the type of organization in which you have a lot of Dutch clients, right? Because of this idea of relevance and this idea of
Hmm.
really getting to know them well.
Yeah.
And because there are different type of approaches, right? Like others that go for the US market and try to penetrate different regions, obviously losing their relevance on the way because it's really hard to be everywhere, right? And to be with the bandwidth that you are having. Did you try that? How? What's your experience on that? On expanding outside of Netherlands, and
Yeah.
what
Sure.
kind of learnings you get from there?
So, um, yeah, we're active for more than 21 years now in the Netherlands, and that is because it is really easy to do business in the Netherlands once you are trusted and once you have a little
Mm-hmm.
bit of network. So, when I graduated actually from I'm a hotel school student, and hotel school people are actually super commercial people,
What is
and
hotel? What do you mean hotel schools?
hotel management school. So I
Ah,
was,
okay.
I was trained to become a hotel manager at some point, but
Oh, wow.
I already started my career in IT. But hotel school people, you can find them everywhere in the world. They are in all the services industries. They are in banks, some hotels. They found a lot of companies. So when you have a network, and when I graduated, my first two clients before I actually graduated, one was Vodafone, a very known telco, and the
Mm-hmm.
other one was a very famous magazine. So I just started with two really nice clients in my portfolio, and actually from then, the next 20 years, I didn't have to do anything to get new clients. So, but the thing that we always tried to maintain in the best possible way was our reputation. We always wanted to do the utmost for our clients. And if something went wrong, if a client was unhappy, or I don't know, we fucked it up, we always went all the way to make sure that, of course, that we kind of could save that project, but most important that we would keep up our reputation, because this
Mm-hmm.
ecosystem, the Netherlands is small. Within the Netherlands, actually, the region where we've always been active is Amsterdam, hence the name Amsterdam Standard, And
Mm-hmm.
in Amsterdam, if you're walking around in Amsterdam for like longer than 10 years, I would say that you know like half of the ecosystem there.
Mm-hmm.
So at some point, people just know that you are like, trustworthy guy, that you actually have good capacity. And that was
Mm-hmm.
basically it. That was how we just, grew in the last I would say
Mm-hmm.
20 years, but since 12 years, I'm active with our people in Poland. So I always actually look back at the last 12 years. And that's it. We just, kept our reputation up, and this was enough. So through our network, we got like, new leads, new clients. I would say that every year we were able to onboard 4 to 6 new clients, and maybe we lost 1 to 2 clients, mostly because of reasons that, I don't know, they sold their company, they run out of budget or whatever. But we always tried to just stack the revenue. That
Mm-hmm.
actually led to like a growth of around 15 to 20 people net per year, which was like
Mm-hmm.
perfect organic growth. And that is just, let's say, what was great for me and my co-founder Thomas and Radek. They that was just perfect for us. We were actually not more ambitious for many years than that. At some point, we thought, how will we actually get the next 100 people on board? So by then, we decided to do a merge with another IT company.
Mm-hmm.
But basically, that was it. So all those years, we didn't do any marketing. Like literally, like if we spend 100 euros on marketing in those 12 years, it's already a lot.
What a
Uh,
life.
and of course, so what we did was, I always call it reactive sales. So somebody is like
Mm-hmm.
introduced to you, they come to you and say, hey, this person told me that you guys do a good job, or I know you from this previous project, because of course there's a lot of job hoppers that you serve, and then they move on to the next company and they call you again. And that was our life for like many years, and it was nice.
Wow,
And
you guys were like the government institutions, right? Like the
yes,
only like a ticket counter. Like you
exactly.
just sit and you obviously you are much nicer than the um, people giving you ticket in the Eastern European at least ticket counter offices. But so you were saying there was a bunch of people coming because of your reputation,
Yeah,
no marketing,
yes,
and
yeah. And
then
it
what
was
happened?
easy. So how we got our clients in the Netherlands was like so easy and effective. So we actually tried to do business in other locations. So I had a sales office
Hmm.
in Barcelona for like 4 or 5 years.
Oh.
Uh, but not because the market was so amazing, but simply because I wanted to live there. So and
Hmm.
we were there once on a company trip, and we thought, this is great, this is an amazing place. Let's just open up an office. We knew a Dutch guy who also lived there. He also wanted to do some side business, so he started to do our sales. And we thought, okay, once this is bigger than Amsterdam, we'll just move over there and have a great life.
Hmm.
But it was hard.
But this is was purely lifestyle choice, right? Or it
Yeah,
was
of
you made
course.
some kind of.
Yeah, of course. But it's like a long time ago. So this was like in the
Hmm.
end of my 20s. So
Hmm.
yeah. So sometimes you just follow your intuition, and and that's
Yeah,
enough.
of course.
Yeah.
No
So
judgment there.
and it was nice. But after like 5 years, you actually see that the way you actually close a deal there and the time it takes to close that deal is like so much longer, and the budgets are smaller than in the Netherlands, and
Hmm.
it is very hard to build a sustainable business there. So at some point there was like a huge crisis actually there in Spain. I think it was around 2013 maybe, and
Hmm.
we just closed the office because it didn't make sense to have that anymore.
But did
Uh,
you get some clients
oh,
from
we
there?
had like 15, 20 clients, I think,
Oh.
those years, but never like the big interesting projects that we found here in the Netherlands. And then again, we tried it. So we tried for 1 year to build up a business in London. So we
Hmm.
invested there. We sent somebody over, a sales guy from Poland. He went there. Again, no success, and we learned a lot. It's really hard to do business there. They in the Netherlands, really, it's as simple as if somebody knows you, or if I meet somebody in a bar tonight and we have like a nice conversation for 15 minutes and we share one beer and we kind of trust each other, then tomorrow we can have a deal. Uh,
Yeah, I suppose if you speak Dutch and you are
yeah,
local, it's like
it's
much
yeah,
easier.
it's
But
like that. But if you go to London, you need to have like local reference projects. There's like a lot of legal work. There's a lot of quotation. You're never the only one who's doing an offer. In the Netherlands, I hardly encounter that if they invite us, that there's like another company. Tomorrow, for the first time since a long time, I'm pitching for a potential big one. But yeah, that hardly ever happens. That's
mhm.
also like a lot of easiness and comfort here. So,
Mm-hmm.
if I know you, if I trust you, and you can do this for me, fine. Why would I look further? Because I'm also like maybe like there's like some laziness here. If this is
Mm-hmm.
fine, why would you look further? So that is my experience for a long time. And in London, it didn't work. So it was very slow again. It was really hard to win something. So again, after a year, we had to close the business there. This year, at the beginning of the year, we tried in Copenhagen with a very experienced sales guy. Also, no success. Uh, well, maybe that's also because this year is like a super hard year for everyone, I guess. But yeah, so we tried. So and I will still try because it would be great, to build up a business in the UK, in Germany, in Scandinavia. That would be actually perfect for us because we are based in the middle of that. Uh, but it just didn't happen yet, which is fine because it also just shows how good our business and how good our network and reputation here is. Because we are comparing, and then you still draw the conclusion, no, it's much easier and better here. But then I was just sort of bragging that the first 20 years we were not doing anything, and the business just walked into our office, and sometimes we really had to close the door because it got too crowded inside. Uh,
Wow.
and then it became 2022 and 2023, and everything changed, of course, in the world. So since then, we actually had to invest a lot in what you call RevOps. I still call it marketing and sales because we are just
Yeah, it's
starting.
marketing and sales. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
for
it
sure.
is. It is. But we finally, after all those years, started to acknowledge that this is an essential part of what you need to do as a company. And actually, the ease of the last couple of years now, became actually, our weakest spot because we were so not prepared for this that, yeah, at some point, you see that the economy is changing. You see that clients are facing less and less budgets, investments in the whole world are going down, and that basically started us to think about how will we solve this thing, what are we going to do in the future. And then you think, okay, let's start something, and within like 2-3 months we'll have results. But now I think we are like 1 year later since we really started our efforts, and only like since 3 months I see that it's that it starts to pay off and that things are changing and that my sales agenda is like extremely full. But yeah, it's a huge investment. So um, yeah, I think it's actually great that this happened. If I look back at all those years, I would say that our company was like finished for maybe like 80%. But a company without, let's say, a proper marketing and sales team and a strategy for that, yeah, it's just I would say in danger. Yeah. So
Yeah, I think we had our workshop like 1 year ago, exactly in November,
I guess so. Yeah.
when I let you win at the poker that night. I still
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
So, what happened this year? Like, what happened?
What happened? Well, we started working, and I mean, yeah. So I know that it's called RevOps and the whole thing, but for us, it started very simple with just the implementation of
Doesn't
HubSpot.
matter how it's called, right?
So,
Like,
so
doesn't really matter.
for us, it was first the decision to start working with you guys. You guys bring the knowledge, you show how other companies are doing it, and you come, with HubSpot. And HubSpot, of course, is super big. It's an amazing thing, but the first couple weeks, you really get frustrated and angry because you want to get those results, but you need to set up everything, and it's complicated. You need a lot of people. All the people in our company who were working with this, and we actually formed quite a big team. From 0 people working with marketing, we I think collected like 8 people who altogether were like put in a marketing team, and
How many people you have now, by the way, in marketing and sales?
we still have 7 or 8 people in the team at the
Oh,
moment.
wow.
Yeah, excluding partners, because I'm working with like 4 partners who are also
Mm-hmm.
doing their duties every day. Um, So yeah, we started doing with that, and I will not lie, this was just, let's say, a hell of a job. It was frustrating. It was like, you have to invest all those things, and the only thing that I was thinking back then, why didn't we start this like a year ago? Because
Mm-hmm.
when we started it, it was actually too late. uh, because you really could feel that the economy was going in the wrong direction. So the funny thing is actually that the first quarter where we were doing this implementation was still our best quarter ever. The results, the revenue and the profit was the highest ever. But then by the end of March, April, May, you could really see that the clients felt the impact of what was going on in the world. And what you can actually see at, let's say this year, maybe not even now, but this year, it's just a combination of like 3, 4 crises coming together. So in my whole
Mm-hmm.
history of, like being an entrepreneur for like 22 years, I have seen crisis, but most of the crisis actually just boosted the tech sector. And for the first
Yeah.
time here, you could actually see that we were, going to be hit. Uh, and that is mainly, caused by the high global interest rate. It is, of course, a side effect of what was started in Ukraine by Putin. You got the energy crisis. Yeah, there's a tech crisis last year in the US. So the VCs all got scared. They advised all of their portfolio companies to be much safer with the budget, because the next investment rounds will probably be at a much lower evaluation, and all those things together for the
By
first
the
time.
way, sorry for interrupting. What caused those tech crises in US in your view?
uh, that was just the interest rate was going up. So if you look
Mm.
at how those big tech, the VCs were funded, they of
Mm-hmm.
course they have their own capital, but they also use a lot of,
Bottle, right?
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
they just borrow money, and
Mm-hmm.
they still have to pay interest for borrowed money, and those interest rates are like peaking. So
Mm-hmm.
the Fed interest rate is still around like 4.8 at the moment, or even 5,
Yeah.
which is like
Mm-hmm.
a all-time high.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, and before that, money was like almost free. So at some point,
Yeah, yeah.
those companies thought this is going in the wrong direction, and of course, there was like the fear for a big recession coming up. There was also the time when the energy prices all around the world were super high, so that will just cause a recession later. So that was the moment that, for example, Facebook lost like 70 or 80% of their
Yeah,
value on the stock exchange.
the
And
layoffs. Mm-hmm.
this is just, let's say, created a whole ripple effect in the whole tech economy. So first those things happened there, and I would say, let's say 6 months later, all this stuff arrived to Europe. And of course, we are not working for clients that big, but in also for those VCs, you have like companies in like 5 levels. We are probably working for like tier 4 and 5, and
Mm-hmm.
also there, at some point, they just advised their portfolio companies, be wise. There will be a recession this year. There will not be as much investment budget available. If you need extra funding at some point, then as a founder, you will dilute a lot. If you
Mm-hmm.
need money at the wrong moment, then you're
Yeah.
probably you're back against the wall, and you just need to accept every money and every valuation. Otherwise, your company is bankrupt. And that is
Mm.
why many companies in April and May, after analyzing their results of the first quarter, thought, shit, this is going in the wrong direction. The results were not, up to the budget. So they had to scale down a little bit. And they were all trying to fund, they were all trying to raise new money. And they all felt this is not going in the right direction. So what we've seen then was that all around Europe, many of the tech companies laid off around 15 to 20% of their people. And I still have to say, not necessarily developers. If I look at the layoff rounds among our clients, we saw that they, for example, fired salespeople or country managers, or or let's say the youngest developers who just joined the team. A lot of the seniors, of course, were saved because those are
Hmm.
still
Yeah,
super
it's harder to recruit.
resource.
The
Yeah,
cost of recruitment is higher.
exactly. So, but that is what happened. So the growth was out of the budget. Uh, yeah, we had a lot of resignation. So at some point, then as a as a company, like you just end up with pretty big bench of
Mm.
people you will probably not allocate to new projects. So in the past,
Hmm.
we always had many leads. It was like at some point we had so many leads that we didn't even have time to respond to all of them. That was 2 years ago,
Mm.
and I still remember that back then that we had like 50 open vacancies. It was crazy. We didn't know
Whoa,
what to do.
whoa.
And then two
Yeah,
years
yeah, yeah. I
later,
think IT recruitment companies were making a lot of money like 2 years
oh,
ago because they were making a lot of fees from placement, right? And everybody was
if they
going
could
into
actually
this.
find people, yeah. I also heard recruiters actually complaining that it was like so hard to
Yeah,
tell
exactly.
people. But so there was like a huge shift, within 2 years from 50 open vacancy to a bench of around 15, 20 guys on the bench and
Whoa.
no leads, so nothing. Uh,
Mm.
and if that happens to you for like the first time in all those years and you have like no clue what sales and marketing actually is, then yeah, then you need like guys like you who
But
actually
I think what what
give
what
you the
you did
basics.
really good is you took this relevancy and these stories and this human connection that you had, and you didn't hide it away, but you put it out there on LinkedIn. And I saw that, and this is what makes you different, right? That you not only just do marketing, because you can do always marketing, like you do another ebook and you do another whatever, you know boring webinar or whatsoever, but you actually look at what you are good at, what you're not good at, and then you actually implemented it. So you tell us a bit about the how like a founder and a CEO doing this whole LinkedIn uh, journey, because from like zero, absolutely no posts, right up like a year ago, I think, you started to gather the audience that you had in Amsterdam's and others into
Hmm.
LinkedIn, and now whenever you post something, um, it gathers very good engagement,
Uh-huh.
and I
Yeah.
suppose conversations with you
Yeah, yeah,
afterwards.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, so indeed it was a whole journey, and it was like super uncomfortable because I also like to hide behind my screen, and I don't mind to be on like a real stage, but like the online stage is still kind of uncomfortable. But indeed, at some point, as a founder, I wasn't the CEO back then. Now I am again, but back then I wasn't. As a founder, you just need to take responsibility because you're actually the only one who can do something with your company at that point. Um,
Mhm,
and indeed, when we started thinking about it, and when we started thinking about all those experience in those 20 years, then indeed, we have probably a lot of interesting insights. We learned our lessons. We have a great network of people who are interesting. If we tell their story.
mhm,
So yeah, that was a realization, and again, it felt uncomfortable, but we just started doing it, and because we really didn't know what would work and what would be effective, I just started doing like everything. So I wanted to test all the channels out there, all the possible marketing channels. Of course, we have
mhm.
HubSpot, so in HubSpot you can probably see everything coming together, but we just had to start our basics. So
Yeah, you needed traffic.
we
Mhm,
needed traffic. We started our
mhm.
AdWords campaign. I started working with a writer who, together with, I produce indeed a lot of content. We did started cold emails, cold email outreach. We did organized webinars.
Webinars, I think. Yeah. Mhm.
I started my podcast, and there were like around, I would say, 20, 25 initiatives. And I was
Whoa.
just tracking everything. And after like 3 4 months you could already see like what is working for us and what is not.
Mhm,
Of course you cannot measure everything, but what we found out is that when you do all those things together, at least it works. So that is nice, right? Like after like three,
Yeah.
4 months, I think we, at some point, in April, May, we had our foundation done and we actually started going out there. And then since July, we scaled up a little bit more channels. We started also with indeed our content strategy on LinkedIn. We started with the cold emails. We started with just connecting with people on LinkedIn. And then when everything came together, we went from like 0 leads in 6 months to like 20 leads in 1 week. And this really changed like in 2-3 weeks, and it was crazy.
But let's just add a small note to
Mhm.
our audience that this was not the spray and pray type of marketing, because you guys have a very good expertise in, and you have some subject matter expertise in some industries, like for example the ad tech business,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
As far as I know. So the whole idea of marketing and network was not just done for all the audiences. You niche down on some industries.
Yeah, of course. So you made us think about our ICPs, our ideal customer profiles, which was also nice. It just made us realize that indeed we are strong in 4 of those domains. So one indeed is EdTech. We have good expertise in ticketing, booking platforms, and we are also pretty strong, but also very excited about companies that do something with sustainability.
Hmm.
So that indeed helped us to come up with better materials, to have like more tailored messages, to target the right companies, and indeed get valuable conversations out there. Uh, and it was a huge game changer for us, actually.
So
Uh,
what worked, what didn't in this year from all these things that you guys tried?
um, so I think that the combination of everything works. So I'm
Hmm.
still hesitant of closing down some channels that, for example, do not bring us like leads instantly. One
Hmm.
thing that is like still on my mind is, for example, Google AdWords. We get a lot of
Hmm.
traffic. It costs a lot of money, and there's like no conversions.
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
Even though we have like a lot of leads at the moment, we see that Google doesn't work. So we've been scaling down, campaign by campaign, and yeah, so that's a little bit weird maybe, but I'm still
A
hesitant to do
note on this, Edwards, for you. We have the same, and I heard it from other peers also.
it. Mhm.
Like, um, AdWords is all about intent, right? Like, you just need the right person to search for
Yeah,
the right
sure.
thing. But when they search, you need to be fucking there.
Exactly.
Because
And that's why
if
it's so
for
scary to turn it off, right?
exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. So you might not have anything for months, but then maybe a big one lands in, right? Like when we look at all of our clients, the best brands, known brands, come from AdWords. Like whatever, like yes, software houses are great, but when we talk about corporations
Mhm.
that want to do ABM in Poland and outside, and they go on fucking Google and they put ABM agency,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
And if you're not there, you're fucked, because you might have some big company coming your way, right? And when you do the return on investment or the return on ad spent, you need to look at it year to year, right?
Yeah, of
Like
course.
that's otherwise it's really hard. Yeah, just a note there. But continue with. I'm curious about Google about cold emails, because we are not really a big promoter of it when we know that it's very spray and pray type
Yeah.
of thing. These all automation tools are getting a little bit obsolete be- because you don't have personalization. Now with ChatGPT, there's so much fucking spam that it's like crazy. So I'm
Yeah.
just wondering how you see this.
Um, we have tried 2 suppliers before, and there were like zero results. And I
Mm-hmm.
still wanted to try it, and I was following a Dutch guy, Jan, who built a pretty cool agency. In my opinion, it's called coldagency.io,
Mm-hmm.
and he was just sharing the right content, and I really believed that with that strategy it would work, and it did. And for sure, it already brought me like I don't have the dashboard here, but I'm quite sure that they brought me more than 100 leads this year who actually wanted to start a conversation. And I was also surprised that so many people actually respond in a very nice way that it's not interesting for them right now, but please call me back, for example, next year in February. Really, people really take the time. But what I've
Wha-
also learned is that one email doesn't work, but it's always about the sequence. You need to prepare a proper sequence. Usually you see that they only react after the second or the third email. So when this is done in like in a good way, and of course they targeted it nicely, they actually made like specific campaigns for our specific ICPs, and that really worked. And I believe that the combination of inviting someone on LinkedIn to connect with you and then sending an email would even work better. So we are, together with this provider, I'm tweaking that. We're also preparing, these auto-generated videos, so that gets like more personal, like 45 seconds auto-generated AI videos that we will deliver to those
with
companies.
HeyGen, yeah.
Yeah, well, there's already like a bunch of providers there, but indeed that's
Hmm.
one of them. And I really feel that at some point, because my LinkedIn campaign was on, so I had like proper content there twice or three times per week. Then I was just, inviting everyone in the network that I wanted to be connected with, in combination with email campaigns to the same companies actually. And then at some point it got so busy again. I remember
And
that. Yeah,
something very important.
yeah,
And we need to take this holistically, right? Like you cannot rely, and this is what people make mistakes. And one thing you need to know is that Leo has the authority, right? Has the authority in the industry, and so just making content or just inviting people and sending email is not enough.
mhm,
While for Leo is enough because he has the authority and he has the background and he has the experience. So and he's the founder and he's the CEO. So when you do all this, you cannot put a junior rep, call him SDR, right? With absolutely no authority to start to go out and do all these activities, because the number one open rate uh, indicator, or what helps the open rate, is who the fucking sends this email, right? People want to talk with similar people like them. People want to talk from people from whom they can learn.
yeah,
It's a peer-to-peer relationship. Or they want to talk with people that were already in this position and they solved this kind of situation in the past. So
yeah,
if I'm in an ad tech industry, I'm a new startup, just got Series A, I want to talk to Leo because Leo, in the past 15 years or 20 years or whatever, he was working with ad tech company. He saw the evolution of an ad tech company, and he knows what's happening in the industry. This is very important to mention, the subject matter expertise, and this is what ABM wants to point out. So no offense to SDRs or any junior sales guys out there. You can be the facilitators, you can still interact, create great content, take that case studies authority of your companies, of your founders, CEOs, and elevate them. You can do that, but sorry, there is no alternative than the founders and CEOs getting out there
yeah.
and doing what Leo is doing.
Yeah, yeah, and then getting out there is actually not the biggest problem. But what I've also experienced is that the follow up leads, the conversations, because a lead usually is okay. So let's have a call or plan something in my open calendar. I started working with an open calendar, which drove me crazy actually in the beginning because I was just used,
Yeah.
to manage my own schedule for like all those years, and now suddenly you see like all those meetings popping up in your agenda. And of course, the first reaction would be, hire an SDR to have those conversations. But those conversations are very different than we had in the past. When we had in the past, some incoming lead, this was a person who actually wanted something from us. They came to us, they already they had the information, they knew what they wanted from us. So I only had to nod, give him a coffee, sign the contract, and let's get into business, right? That was
Transactional, right? Mm-hmm.
exactly that was how it worked for many years. But now you have these conversations, and you have those people who probably only scanned an email that you send them, or they saw some message on LinkedIn, for example, and they thought, okay, whatever, let's reach out to them. So you need to connect like on a whole different level. All those meetings are online. All those meetings are max 30 minutes. Within 30 minutes, you need to create a small bond. You need to find out if there's like
Mm.
you need to find out enough about this person, and you need to be able to give like a very quick pitch of what you can do, and decide if there's, let's say, an opportunity for a next one. And that really only works indeed if you are the founder, if you have the authority, if you don't talk about the specific problem, but if you only show and share that you have the experience, that other companies, joined us and were successful. And that's actually kind of sad that it works like that, because it means that after 22 years having quite a big company, I'm still doing those first sales talks.
But you
Uh,
do it in Dutch, right? Also, you do
Dutch
it
and
in Dutch.
English, Dutch and English. I mean, there's a lot of international people working here. So
Mm-hmm.
first I thought, oh my God, where will this bring me? Is this my future now? But the amazing thing actually, and this is like the big game changer for us, is that we also started thinking more about our storytelling. So during the
Mm-hmm.
summer, I read a book again. The famous book by Donald Miller. How to build a story brand. I actually gave the book to my whole marketing team. Everybody read it, and we just created, our new pitch. We have one script, and if you have like at least 15 of those first-time conversations per week, it's an awesome opportunity to tweak your pitch to get this thing, like super smart. And that was awesome. I mean, if you are, let's say, sitting and relaxing and just waiting for somebody to come in, you don't have to be that sharp. You don't have to think about what is my competitive edge. How do we actually differ from all those other companies out there? Because we have to be honest, after all those years, development capacity kind of became a commodity. Everyone has it.
Mm.
When I started 12 years ago with offering my people from Poland to the clients here, I was kind of new. So everybody was like interested. And now everyone is spammed all day long. So how do you make a pitch? How do you make a story that really holds up? It's not just about, defining the ICP. You have to have a razor sharp pitch. And therefore, you need to have like a very consistent story. So that's what we built over the summer. And I tested that again, late August. When I came back, actually in the middle of August, I thought that the whole world would be on holiday, but I had like 13 meetings booked the Monday after I came back. And I started, like tweaking and pitching this thing. And it worked, it really worked. And this is just, let's say, again, the basics. You have to go out there, you have to talk to the market, you need to ask them what they want, you need to tweak the pitch constantly, and only then you know how you can change your brand, your marketing, your communication. And that was awesome actually.
Yeah, because what you mentioned about commodity, and we see it so much when we do these strategies and we talk to people, especially in this industry. It's really hard to come out with a value proposition when you are doing software development for bunch of different companies and a bunch of different industries. Your value prop was we are cheaper
Yeah,
than others, or we did this in the past. So
yeah,
it's really, really hard. And
yeah,
that's why what you mentioned about story, it's so important that you need to have a narrative. You
yep,
need to have a point of view. You need to have that narrative relating to the current situation in the market. Because if you don't have a story, a narrative, a value proposition, a point of view, right? then it's really hard to build those messagings. It's really
Yeah.
hard to, even when you are in a conversation, what are you telling, what are you doing in these pitches, in the discovery calls? Like, we have developers in Poland and in Barcelona and whatever, and that's all. Like,
Yeah. That was basically our story, like until a year ago. So not
i'm i'm
enough.
i'm, I'm very glad that okay, there is a lot of challenges that all these crises bring, but there is one thing: it's awareness among a lot of organizations that you need to be different,
Yeah.
to have some kind of messaging, and to pop out from this crowd. You need to fucking make your narrative and story. And everybody has a story. And if you don't have a story, go out, make experiences, build those stories, right?
Yeah.
That's the, in the end, something that is core, right? And sometimes we take it just granted that, okay, we just build some RevOps automations and we just build some kind of, buy some fancy tech, right? And because we buy this fancy tech, we push few buttons, we hire some agency, and that's all. Like, we will fucking fail as an agency if you don't have a story and a narrative. And if you
Hmm.
don't have a narrative, then let's build first that before you buy that HubSpot, right? Or whatever,
Yeah.
Salesforce or whatever you have, right? But you need that. Now, what's next, Leo? Sorry, I'm just ranting about it because I'm so sometimes frustrated
Passionate.
that when I
Yeah.
see that an agency or a technology is the solution. It's not fucking the solution. It's what we need is tell your story, who you are,
Hmm.
who are your people. Like, let's do the human part first, and then the techie part, and
Yeah.
then combine it. It works perfectly.
It
What's
really does.
next now within Amsterdam Standard in this whole
Yeah.
circumstances? Do you see the economy recovering? What plans do you have with the teams? How do you see
Well, first
2024?
of all, when we stick to this RevOps part, so what I decided is that we will never actually drop investments in sales and marketing anymore. Uh, so of course it's like easy, once the economy will be back at some point, and I don't see it coming back yet. But once it's back, and once you are being over asked again and you have like dozens of vacancies, it's probably quite easy, to just, save some money to stop all the efforts that we are putting here right now. So, as a CEO, I just decided that we will just make it part of our budget, which is actually not a new thing. This is also, for example, what Coca-Cola already does for probably 100 years. They just decide that every year they spend 4 or 5% of their total revenue on marketing. And that's what we will
Mm-hmm.
also do to prevent situations like this. But another advantage of doing this is that we're getting closer and closer to the companies that we actually want to work for. So in the past, when you're just sitting back and relaxing and waiting for somebody to knock on your door asking for, a team, then everybody will probably knock on your door. But now
Mm.
we actually kind of narrowed down a lot. So we started with those 4 ICPs with those domains. And by doing this whole journey this year, we talked to so many nice customers who were actually from the domains of sustainability, clean tech, climate tech, and renewable energies. And I felt so
Sweet.
much energy there. And I felt that this was really like the thing that actually we should focus on as a company, that we decided that we'll go all in on that. Um, I'll explain you more why, but this just helps, right? So it just really helps us to narrow down, to become really different than all the other companies out there. We'll, update again our story, our script, our marketing materials, and we will just go for that. And that is nice. That is really what we always were looking for, a clear specialization. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not only nice, but it's also really something that can probably uh, create a bigger feeling of purpose among our teams. So at the
Mm-hmm.
moment, we are working for, like 35 clients, all nice
Mm-hmm.
clients, super cool, successful SaaS companies mostly. But, if you look at our company, we are pretty much a group of islands. So this is a successful team, that is a successful team. But what binds them together, right? Is that the company culture? Is that our parties? Is that the office vibe? Well, in a situation where you're more and more remote, something is missing here, and you kind of miss like this shared mission.
Mm.
And for me personally, I've been doing this for like like I said many times now, more than 20 years. And when I turned 40 a couple of years ago, I also felt like, is this everything? What did we achieve as a company? What did we bring to this world? Did we make like this world a better place? Well, honestly, I think I'm very proud of the fact that we gave like a super nice workspace to many of our colleagues. We have a lot of guys who are actually with us already like 10 years.
Wow.
uh, so that's cool. That's like sort of a proof that this is actually like a nice place to be. And for sure, we helped a lot of clients. We made them successful. We made some of them rich. We made companies who actually made an impact. But in general, I don't think that we as a company were done yet. And I think we can do more. And if, I'm a father of two. If I look around what's happening in the world, if you see all the, the natural disasters happening now, last summer was crazy, the whole Europe was on fire. So we also, want to take more responsibility. We actually want to use all the smart brains that we have in our company to focus, on those companies that are actually trying to make, a difference in this world. So we want to, focus on sustainability, clean tech, climate tech, renewable energy. And it's cool, I've had at least like 60 conversations with tech founders that are in there. And that is only because of the fact that for the first time we went out there, we had a big campaign. And I have to say that here, the cold email campaign was actually the most successful one. And I had like all those conversations with people who are, making a new product. They are building a battery in the sea to store energy, or they are making some carbon dioxide machines that are just sucking it out of the air, or whatever. There's like so many nice things out there that I really felt like, okay, so here, this is where we have to go to. This, we already have like a few clients from those domains who brought like extremely nice products and results to the world, and we will just specialize more. This is what we're going for. And yeah, and by doing that, we also have to, of course, change our own company. We have to be, the best kid in class. So we as an IT company will show how the next year we can already reduce our carbon footprint by 50%. And then in the next year, in 2025, we will be on neutral. So we will have no carbon footprint anymore. And that is just what we want. And that is, what we will also show in our storytelling, why we're doing that, how we also use this knowledge to help our clients, the clients from those domains. But of course, we also have a lot of existing clients that we also, want to inspire, that we want to show this new direction, and that we also want to, maybe um, yeah, in some way, learn how they can do better. And we, of course, want to be an inspiration for other IT companies. So that's actually what's up next. So that's what we're doing in December, January. Coming back to your question, if I see the economy changing already, no. For the current climate, I don't see a lot of changes. The global interest rate, the European interest rate, and the one in the US has to drop first before investments will come back. But for us, it really doesn't matter actually, because now that we are going into this direction of clean tech, climate tech, that is actually something where still a lot of money is flowing around, and where there is enough budget for innovation. And that is because those companies are not only driven by investment, but also by government grants, by new laws, by the European deal, by the CSDR that is being implemented in Europe next year, for all the big companies out there. And that's basically it. So this is really like a new direction for us. It gives us a lot of energy. It gives us more purpose as a company, and yeah, I'm actually quite
Yeah,
excited about that.
yeah, being a change agent, right? So going into getting that subject matter expertise,
Mhm.
using marketing as a tool, and these on telling your story to inspire your clients, to inspire
Yeah,
other companies,
yeah,
and
and our people, huh? Also our people. So
exactly, and having the giving that purpose to
yeah,
internally to the people. It's a great mission. I really hope that you will succeed, and I am um, uh, proud that I met a company that 1 year ago. You know, you guys didn't have that team, and somehow maybe I contributed
you
to
did.
light a little bit there the idea that okay, there is still hope in marketing if it's done in a right way for the right causes, right? um Thanks a lot for this. It was a great um interview and podcast episode, and I hope that you are also running a podcast episode, right? Like what you are doing in that. Tell us more a bit so that people can tune in, maybe some nice stories from there.
Yeah, I am. I just started my podcast series. I think 7 weeks ago. Um, I'm mostly interviewing founders about their personal roller coaster. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
not so interested actually in their business achievements. I really like to find out, what drove them to actually start a company. What were the highlights? What were the fallbacks? How did they handle shit and everything? So, and yeah, I mean, this is also, of course, because we have so many nice relations. We have so many nice also co-founders that I joined in other companies that have like great stories that really deserve like a nice spot. So yeah, the podcast is the perfect place for that. So
What was the name of the podcast? How can we find it?
it's called Building the Dream, and it's on Spotify, it's on Apple Podcast, and on
Mm.
Podimo.
I
Yeah,
listened to the one with
Daniel.
the guy with the photo
Yeah,
that bought the
yeah,
BMW when he made the money
yeah,
and then he
yeah,
regretted
yeah,
it.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah,
I found his story really cool,
yeah,
and that's nice that you can do it also in Amsterdam and have that bond with them. So it's a
yeah.
great ecosystem also for that, right?
Yeah, yeah, and with those podcasts, I just hope to inspire like new entrepreneurs, or entrepreneurs who have also a difficult time, because I'm mostly now interviewing people who have worked on their companies for more than, I would say, 10, 15 years, and it's never just a success show. So there
Of
is
course.
always some fallbacks and some difficult years and some moments that you actually want to close your company. So with this podcast, I just try to show, what it really takes to become successful, to build a
Hmm.
successful big company, and those founders, they have amazing stories. So it's really
Like,
nice to
what's your latest episode for the people to know, and who is it about?
my latest episode. Unfortunately, it's in Dutch. I wanted to experiment with that a little bit.
Uh
So
huh.
how comfortable is doing it in English or in Dutch? So my latest episode is with Ruben. He
Mm-hmm.
built the biggest online ticketing platform in Europe before he sold it to Eventbrite.
Mm.
It's a US company. Then he went there. He lived near San Francisco, and then he came back a few years later. It's a extremely nice story. Yeah. So, but
So
unfortunately,
I think that's interesting that you do it in Dutch, but I think that with the new technology, at least I saw that you can even translate it. So
yeah,
in the future, you might do it in Dutch, but I can listen it in English, and maybe someone can listen to this in Spanish or whatever. So
yeah,
that would be interesting. Um,
sure.
Thanks a lot for this. And
Yeah,
last question is about one book that you recommend to all founders that have similar stories,
mhm.
and one learning for similar founders, for similar companies, from this whole 1 year experience roller coaster that you had this year?
Well, that's going to be an easy one for me because I'm not a big reader. So I didn't read a book for like many years. So the only book that I actually read this year was Building a Story Brand by Donald Miller. And I found it was like amazing. This was like a really a big eye opener for me. It learned me how successful stories actually always follow the same script and how you can easily apply with the framework that they bring, how you can apply that to your own company.
And
And
this
that
is
is,
also from Hollywood. They bring a lot of stories, right?
sorry?
From movies and from Hollywood,
Yeah,
they also follow a similar storyline, right? With a
yeah. So
hero and so on.
that's basically the plot of the book.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
every big story. So for example, the Harry Potter movies, they all follow this script where you have 7 elements, and those elements are also the same elements that successful companies use in their story, actually, that they tell to
Mm.
their customers. And once you realize that, it's such a big eye opener. And then you can easily apply it to your marketing materials. You can update your website and everything. Yeah, so that was a huge game changer for us already. Unfortunately, the only recommendation, but for sure the best recommendation that I have. Yeah.
Thanks a lot. Thanks a lot, Leo. Thanks a lot, guys, for tuning in. And don't forget to give us a thumbs up or give us a. Actually, the best way to tell us that we did a good job is to just rate us on Apple Podcast. Thanks a lot, Leo. Thanks a lot, guys. Cheers.
Thank you, Romeo, for having me. Have a good evening.